Good morning. Pura Vida. It is with a whole lot of excitement that we bring you today's Dharma session here at beautiful Bali Rica, where for 5.5 years our Sangha has met. It is our Dharma home, and it is the result of two people who had a wonderful mission in life, which was to make other people happy and to lead a life of service. And they have done exactly that and made life so much better for so many people by creating our beautiful Bali Rica. Now, we have never had a talk on how that came about until today. So it is with honor and pleasure that Sharon McIver, after Mark gives a meditation, is going to tell us, and I think Mac's here and will help her tell us all about it. Okay, Mark is going to give us the opening meditation. Take it away, Mark.
Well, actually, I'm going to do a little first thing.
All right.
And then we'll do more.
Sharon's doing a first thing.
A first thing.
Okay, a first thing, and then we take it to Mark.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely. Talk on.
A long time ago, I gave them a copy of a poem called "A House by the Side of the Road," in which the author talks about what he decided to do with his life. And he considered all the possibilities and decided that he wanted to live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. And this, I think, really speaks to Sharon and Mac and Bali Rica. Okay, now you can talk. Now
I love that story. I wanted to begin by noting that, yes, this is the first time in like 5 years and change that the topic is not Dharma. And so I thought perhaps the way of weaving that in a little bit is those of you who are here and have tuned in with expectations of hearing Ruthie and or Jeff speak about the Dharma, get to practice what we've learned over the years with non-attachment. So that's what we're doing today. That's our little part of the Dharma, is to practice that.
I like that.
And then I'd also like to just give a brief description of Bali Rica, and then we'll expand from there after Mark talks. Here in our yoga pavilion and the properties, 5 acres, we have guest casitas, we have our labyrinth and trails through the jungle. And when guests arrive, I will bring them on a walkabout. I think everyone here has done the walkabout with me. And we go through, I talk about the trees and the gardens and what nature there is that we'll find on the property. But basically the property speaks for itself. It's someplace very special. And most people who are aware of the finer things immediately feel that, the essence of the property, and it speaks for itself. And so what I thought we would do is, because we can't walk around the property, Mark will give us a guided meditation and give us a sense of what we'll find here. So, that said, take it away, Mark.
Thank you, Sharon. So, welcome to Bali Rica. I'm going to ask you now to lower, just closing your eyes or just moving into soft gaze. If you want to look just a few feet in front of you, And we do this for two reasons, because it eases us into meditation, of course, but also because I'm going to encourage you to listen to the sounds that are occurring around us as we're speaking. I'm going to invite you to step from where you are to be here with us now. And while we can't walk you around, you can listen. Notice as you do so, your breath just naturally deepens. This is the effect that Bali Rica has on all that come here. The breath reaches now down to the lower part of the lungs. In fact, if anything, it's probably starting there and filling to the top of the lungs. When I say you're going to be listening to the sounds of Bali Rica, it's all sounds, because that's what life represents. It's not a singular, one-pointed perfection. It's a cacophony of all different sounds that make an incredible orchestra. The sound of birds, of frogs, of a hammer or a saw or a truck passing by. They're no longer distractions. They weave into the fabric of sound that makes up Bali Rica. In your mind's eye, I'm going to invite you to start at the road. And for those of you who have been here before, that's the gates. And one of the first things that you notice when you come to Bali Rica is, for you today, for our Sangha, the gates are open, which is the Costa Rica way of saying we welcome you all. As you come up the driveway, you may notice that just to the right, in a beautiful bed of flowers, is Ganesha. Ganesha is greeting you. Ganesha is the remover of obstacles, is the divine spirit that supports us in new beginnings. And so from wherever you've come from to make it here, you're being invited just to leave everything out at the road. Leave it there. If it's important to you, it'll be there when you come back. And if it was just a distraction, you can leave it there. This is the time now that you follow your breath. As you breathe in, you begin to notice just what I call the sight lines, meaning that wherever you are in your mind's eye right now, as you look, and again, if you're familiar with the property, wherever you look, beauty is in front of you. It meets you in the midpoint, and it is the backdrop. And so, as you're breathing and noticing, I'm encouraging you, inviting you to follow that breath the same way. As we start to walk the property in your mind's eye, you begin to notice just how much flora there is here. The plants, the colors, all types of leaves. 3 types of bamboo in little groves are around the property. And we're now going to walk, and as you do so, again, just noticing the sounds. In your mind's eye, you'll notice them, but I'm going to invite your nose now. If you've been to the property or if this is your first time being with Bali Rica this way, your nose becomes aware. There is always something blooming here, and usually more than one thing, and you can smell that. Notice how the body responds to these scents. There's a teaching that comes from the forests and comes from the jungles, and it says that the plants interconnect with one another, and they do that through giving off different scents. This is how they interrelate. They communicate through the roots, but also through the sense. And you are now part of that experience. If you're familiar with ylang ylang, you would be familiar with it here as well. Everything is alive and vibrant. As we start to walk to one of the trails, you notice the different palms, the pond, with many different types of frogs and turtles. And we start a trail. And what's fascinating about the trail, like a meditation itself, you are provided sustenance before you begin. In this case, it is the garden. Pineapples, spinach, banana, all growing in this garden. As you follow the path, you notice, and I'm sorry, the plant name is at a loss to me, but there's this beautiful plant that you can reach out and you can touch very gingerly, and it remains full. But if you show any aggression in any way at all, it immediately closes, and the whole plant will close down. And so as you're walking this path, you're being invited to be your most purest self, calmest self. And this is how you're welcomed onto your walk. As you walk a little further, the trail will lead you to a small little fork. On one, there's a bridge that's over one of the streams that is evident in rainy season. And to the right, it leads to the tree house. And we're going to go to the right. And we're now just walking down that path. And as we do so, we're coming to the stream that runs right through Bali Rica. It's important because all streams have a beginning and they have a point where they move beyond the property. What's important about this stream is that it staircases. It drops little by little. And so that the sound of the water running over top of the rocks, the sound of the water hitting or meeting the water in the ponds, makes a sound that is actually calming. But more importantly, there is a spot, a reflection spot, a place where there's a bench. I invite you to sit there and notice the pond, the statue of the Buddha on the other side of the pond. And the forest is alive. It's all around you. The aromas, the sounds. From there, we're going to follow the path all the way up through the jungle, through all the types of birds that live in the jungle, up through the green bamboo, a forest of green bamboo. And the trail leads us to the heart center of Bali Rica, where Ruthie and Sharon and Mac have provided us a space for Sangha, and that is the pavilion. Deep breath. And just listening. Listening to the sounds. Just being in the moment. Being at peace. And of course, being in community. welcome to Bali Rica.
Thank you, Mark.
Mm.
And so we begin. In preparation for this talk, I was asked to talk about Bali Rica. And so, in preparation with my husband Mac here, it was, where do we begin? And from the connection of the island of Bali, where we used to live, and how it affected here in Costa Rica. Is it from when we first got together over 40 years ago and had a shared vision, when we first landed in Costa Rica? And we pretty much concluded that our connection with Ruthie has really had a profound effect here at Bali Rica. And so I'll begin. Yes, I'll begin with a story, just a short one about about 6 years ago, during a challenging time. I would go to Ruthie. I've met her some years before that, but just briefly. And so I would go to your house, and she shared the Dharma with me, which I was familiar with Buddhism, but had never really dived into it. And so Ruthie gave me my words of calmness and helped me through a very struggling time. And when that was said and done, it was, Ruthie, you need to come and share that. Because I'm not the only one who has these challenges, and you would be a great help to many others.
I didn't realize I had that much influence.
Well, you did, of course you did.
Well, for the talks.
Yes.
And this you created.
Well, this was in process, but your presence and what you bring with the Dharma is something that saturates into the property and is in the air, and you really have influenced in many ways. So thank you for that.
Thank you for such kind words.
Yes, well, it's all true. And so, so with that said, what else about that? And so, one thing was, what would be interesting, I think, to all of us is something about the area, about where we are in the world. So Mac loves that sort of thing, history and that sort of thing, and so he will bring us on a description of that. So please do that.
Sure. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Ruthie, for everything that you brought to Bali Rica.
She's so shy.
And thank you to everyone who is joining us wherever you are. I thought maybe it'd be good to just do a brief history of the area and what Bali Rica, where we're located, and a little bit about our history here. And going back to before the settlers came, was the pre-Columbian Indian tribes were here, and the ones that were most prominent were called the Dickies, the Dickey Indians, and they were all in this area. And they're maybe most famously known for these large rocks that they have carved over the centuries, that they're called the spears, and over 300 of them have supposedly been dug up and found, and some are in museums, and they're a bit of an enigma. They're not quite sure why they did it, but it's beautiful work. Some of them are 2 meters across, and it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site right in this area from where the Dickies settled and where they from from the work that they did with these rocks. They were also in this valley of where we are now in Ochoche. And Ochoche gets its name from a tree called the Ochoche Tree that grows in the valley. And just to give you a brief description, we are in the southern Pacific zone of Costa Rica, and we're in a valley, and just directly up from us is a slope in a 1,000-meter mountain range, and it is all jungle, and the jungle comes straight down all the way to the coast, and it's a beautiful part of the country. And so the Dickies Indians, this is one of the areas where they settled, and there are things that they left behind that have been found that have been discovered, and mostly it's, besides the stones, the spears, is pottery. And we have found a few pieces of shards of pottery here on our property when we were doing gardening, and all in the area. They settled that they when they put in the ground, so they stand up, and they were used to mark graves or significant areas, and they're in the area around, and we have found a few on the property. And one of the things that we really love about here is we do have some stones that we put in prominent places because they are so beautiful, and there's almost like they have their own energy. When we have spent time walking the area around Bali Rica, when we first bought it, and started trying to decide, well, what are we going to do with this beautiful piece of land that we've got? It was very rough. No one had lived here for a while. There was a house and a little gardener's cottage, and some big trees and the creek, and that was it. And Sharon and I realized, going way back many years, that one of the things that we wanted to find one day was a property that we could develop that had big trees and that had running water on it, and was in a beautiful place, hopefully somewhere near the ocean. And we found it all here in Ochoche. And when we walked the property, we didn't really know what we were going to do with it, but over time we were patient, and we allowed it to tell us what we were going to do with it, and we listened. Mm-hmm. And so we have allowed it to become what it is now. And what we would do is we had a gardener, this beautiful man, that Tico Miner, who lived here with us for the first 10 years. We've had the property for 12 years now, and he was instrumental in teaching us the plant life, how the seasons, how the best ones to grow here and there. And we would start walking the property as we were doing the work, and the paths, the trails, just kind of came to be by just the areas that we were doing most of our walking on. And so then that was how part of the trail, our series of trails began on the property, and now we have them. Oh yes.
What? There's a mosquito. It's the rainy season.
We are in the jungle, and yes, we do have bugs. But so we were able to allow the property to develop, and we've planted lots of shrubs and fruits, and with our beautiful rainy season we have, everything grows really well, and that's part of the reason, or part of the allure for people to come here, is just to be able to walk the trails and to be part of just watching the flowers bloom, and the smells, like Mark so eloquently described when he did the walk around for us. But so with Bali Rica, we as time progressed, we decided we wanted to share it, and share it with other people. And there was a time in our earlier history together that we had worked over in Bali, Indonesia. We lived there, worked there for a few years, and we fell in love with the culture and the people, and just such a beautiful island. And after the job finished, we came back to this side of the world, and we said, if we ever find a place like Bali, then that's where we should really consider maybe settling down. And we looked around Central America. We lived in the Caribbean for a while, and we came upon Costa Rica. And there's so many similarities to us with Bali and Costa Rica. The beautiful people, the ocean, the mountains, volcanoes, and the wildlife, the monkeys. We could tell you some monkey stories, but we'll save that for another time. But so we decided on Costa Rica, and we looked all over the country. And the last day we were here on a 2-week trip, we discovered this area, and it was like we walked out on the beach in Dominical, and the waves were rolling in, the mist was coming off of the water. We looked back up, there's the mountains and the jungles just above us. We were the sole people on the beach. It was magic. And we said, we just looked at each other and said, this is it. And so this is where about 12 years ago is when we first came. So we developed this area. One of the things we wanted to do was to go back to Bali at some point to visit. And some years back, about 8-9 years ago, we did go back. And one of the things what we did is we were driving around, and we met a man who builds Bali houses. And he will build them for you for your custom, how you like. So we sat down with him, and on a napkin we drew up a house plan, what we would, the type of cabin we would like, and left him with the order and left it in his hands. And 6 months later, we received a container here, a 40-foot container, and it had the house in it,
Cool.
disassembled. And so we pulled it out, and so we built our first cabin here on the property, and we call it Costa Rica. And we also had a couple of small temples built, and right next to us here at the pavilion there is a temple that honors the Buddha, and it is made from the in Bali, the beautiful craftsmanship, the wood carving, and the design that they do. It's so we brought part of Bali here with us, and that is the reason we gave this property this name, Bali Rica, because we wanted to combine the two countries, Bali and Costa Rica. And so here we are. And now over the years we built up, we have a few cabins, and we have family, friends, and guests come and stay with us. And Sharon and I, we love being able to share what has been provided with us. We we believe there is an energy here on the property, and many people, as they come onto the property, that they feel, they tell us that they feel an energy, a vibe that is very welcoming and calming, and we feel blessed that we have been able to share this with others. And we continue this, and now we have Ruthie, and it's just all come together for us in a beautiful way. And so thank you for listening to my description of how this came about.
Thank you. Well, it certainly has been a true loving partnership with nature. You haven't come here and built an English garden. Have you seen people who do that?
Well, that
you have so worked with the spirit of this land.
Well, that was a big part of it when we were when we first were here. This property was very undeveloped.
Mm-hmm.
It was neglected, and so we look at it, and though we were intrigued and delighted with the property itself, we didn't know what to do with it. And as far as, do we make it a park? What do we do? And so little bit over the years, little by little, and with Miner's help, Miner, like this whole area right here was just all these, there were a lot of trees that had died, and
the jungle will take you over.
Yes, and that's what happened. So I wouldn't even go down to that area of the property.
It's literally an snakes and stuff. It's an art to bring out all the best of it.
Yeah, and so what we found is we'd go from our house, which is up top there, and we'd go down and up and here and there. And so then all of a sudden we'd see these paths. Okay, this is the lay of the land. This is how you walk it. This is the most, and it would wind around the property. So from there, the gardens came on the sides of the paths, and then the clearings for what came to be the casitas, where we would put the casitas and that sort of thing. And so we say that the property revealed itself to us, and it truly did. And a lot of that was patience, and like you're saying about landscaping, we didn't have a landscaper come in. We were patient, and I think that was a big part of the property speaking to us, and it becoming more natural evolution. And so now you walk through and you feel a balance that is a natural balance. And so it's a beautiful place to be. We invite.
When did you start with? Because if you tell people you have yoga classes, you have qigong, tai chi, other things that we've done, plus the Dharma talks.
Yes.
At what stage were you here when you suddenly said, now we're sort of at a spot where we can build the cabinas, or they go first, and then it's just sort of a natural progression?
Well, I think for years, for the beginning, the early years, we just were clearing. We were just clearing and planting, and we had a number of nurseries. We would start nurseries where most of the plants here on the property, we say, are kind of bulletproof. So it'll go through the dry season and the wet season without having to be tended to or watered. Of course, everything needs tending, but so we've chosen a lot of plants that are hardy, and we've taken cuttings and we've propagated them in our little. So for the first years, that's what we did. We planted, we moved. What does this plant like it here? No, it doesn't. Okay, let's try there. It likes it there. And so we really kind of listened to what the property wanted. And then I suppose we wanted our family and friends to visit, and so we needed to have accommodations for that. So I think that was the first time we had Bali Rica, Casa Rica. And like Mac said, we built it here on the property. It's from Bali, so it really has a sense.
Mhm.
You know, the wood kind of permeates
Mhm.
the Bali vibe, and that is over here. And then after Costa Rica started, then we got into Airbnb, which was which helped us support
Oh
ourselves.
yeah, that's really a good way to share the property.
Yes, and that too.
And support you at the same time for
Exactly.
the things you're doing.
Yes, so we did that, and then the others followed after that. And since COVID,
Mm-hmm.
we've kind of transitioned more to longer term people staying here, which really, and then of course our volunteer program, and that started around the same.
Tell us about that, because I don't quite understand that either. It's a wonderful program.
It is.
Because it reaches out all around the world to introduce Costa Rica and this and the whole spiritual life here.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, so tell us about that. I want to hear.
Well, so right about the time, similar to when we started the Dharma, more or less, a friend came by and she was like, "You need volunteers here." I said, "What is that? What does that mean?"
It's a lot of work.
And it was a place, I'm forgetting the name, in Uvita, and that's what they did. And so she told me about it. Help X, Work Away. These are programs that I found you guys. We have volunteers here, and it's wonderful. It's Carla's from Barcelona, Canada, the States. We get people from all over the world who come.
Well, they've all been wonderful.
Yeah,
all
they
have
really
something
have
to contribute.
Yeah, and we somehow we get the most beautiful people. They're just really lovely, and so that's how that began. And so we built. Yeah, it's a site that they reach us through our website, or I reach out to them, or they reach out to me.
Now it's word of mouth practically.
In a way, and
volunteers talk to other volunteers.
Yeah, and so we built the volunteer house, and that was I think that's pretty much the latest edition of the property. So it never ends. I mean, we're constantly saying, okay, well, that's it. And then Mac begins the meditation platform in the jungle. After that, but who knows what that means. So that has more or less been the evolution. And you know, I had all these notes that I outlined, and I've concluded that questions are the way to go. So if anyone has any questions about what they're curious about Bali Rica, we'll be happy to expound.
I didn't know that that's how the Dharma talk. All I remember is you came in and said, you know what, let's do some of these talks. And I said, I don't know, I'm not really qualified. And I wasn't, because I had never studied it. And yet it's like everything else here. It was organic. It just grew and been watered with spirit and love. And this is a place of such deeply rooted love. I think everyone here feels it and responds to it. Love of nature, love of each other. It's a very peaceful place. So
yeah, and that just touches on getting back to the Dharma again, because over the years, this is 12 the past. Well, it's been going on for a while, but recently we've had a boom in development.
No, since the roads opened up.
Yeah, and about 20
when we
years.
moved here, you couldn't hardly get here.
No, and that was a part of the description of the history, was how the Canadians first found it here, but that's another story. But so that's something I've been using the Dharma for that, because it can be very disturbing. You come to a place that's so peaceful, and this part of Costa Rica was very undeveloped. It didn't have the Costanera Road in, so there really wasn't a lot of activity. Tourists didn't really come here. It was out of the way. And since they put the road in, and that was some years back.
20-some years
Oh,
ago.
that was the Costanera here, but then the connection from
Capos didn't happen until.
Yeah, that was only about what?
The
not
only
even
way you could
not
get
10
here
years
was
ago.
by something
15
called
years
the Cerro del Morte, the Pass of Death.
Yes, right, up in the mountains. That's
And
true.
you got here, and there was very little electricity. We had walkie-talkies.
Yep.
I lived for 2 years without refrigeration. I had a Coleman cooler.
Mm.
Oh my! And a generator.
No cell
No cell towers, no computers. We had one place in town that everybody counted, the
Right.
Rainforest Cafe. And
yeah,
I remember the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so it is a little shocking to see how the minute the road came in from Capos down from San Jose, how fast this place has grown, and we're not adjusted to it yet.
No, and it can be disturbing because whereas you're used to the peace and quiet, you hear the construction trucks, you hear
you hear Jake brakes,
all of that,
sometimes,
all of it,
but everything changes.
That's right.
Don't cling to a status quo because it's gonna change. So just roll with the punches.
Exactly. Non-attachment.
Detachment.
Detachment. What's
Jeff's involved attachment?
Involved attachment.
Where you're connected. We're all connected, but you can stand away from it and accept what's happening. Don't let it bug you.
Which is a challenge that we constantly, by being near construction sites or trucks passing.
There's
or
a
any
lot
of
of construction going on, and it used to be totally like you felt like an Indian.
Yes, it's true.
Paddling along in your moccasins. It's different, but it's still wonderful. It's still Costa Rica.
So that's I don't know what time it is, but it's kind of around the nutshell. That's a nutshell.
What are your plans for the future? Here now.
I am here now.
Well, you're here. Yeah, be here now. But I mean, it is so beautifully developed now that you guys can sit back and just relax.
That's nice.
That was
Ruthie.
a joke.
That's nice.
That's nice, dear.
Yes, that's nice, dear. Exactly.
But seriously, do you plan to put in any more cabinas or?
We were thinking condos.
Oh, okay.
Well, at one time, because we've had retreats here in the past, meditation and retreats, but we don't have the accommodations for a number of people, so we considered putting in like a dorm to have people
that would be nice.
But we decided not to. Keep it simple, and this is the simplicity that we really enjoy.
I agree.
We don't. If we have a retreat, well, like a few weeks ago when the Lama was here, people came from elsewhere, and the day was spent with the Lama, and so that works. As far as building, I don't, unless you got something up your sleeve I know about.
No, that's enough for now.
That's enough.
Yes.
We don't have any expansion plans. We're really busy just keeping it as is.
I was about to say, it's a lot of work just to maintain this, and it is a labor of love. Yeah, so, don't change a thing. You got it just right, so don't mess it up. Oh, my.
So, right. Any other curiosities?
Gotta speak up.
I would like to, any advice for people that maybe would like to have, to build something like this or to have a life like you're living, some advice there.
We hear that, actually. We hear that quite a lot. How did you do that?
How do you do it?
How can we do that?
Yeah. With love, for sure.
Yes.
And
help.
It really helped us with our background. We worked with property management, caretaking properties. We were in the we were in the water sports and the tourism trade in the Caribbean for many years. And so we learned a lot about catering to guests. And I think that has really served us well over the years. That, and of course with the cabins and the the reservations parts of it, that all goes together. It's really helpful now that we have the internet, that have these programs that brings your marketing can be done right over the internet without having to get magazine ads or it's so much easier to get the word out. And then with the trip advisors and then reviews, it kind of sells itself in that respect.
Can you say how people can? I love your website. How they reach it? www.
Bali Rica.
Bali Rica, and that'll bring it
Yes.
up. What are there other web things, as you say, Airbnb or different ones that would have information on how they get here?
Their website's the best. But about your question, I've really thought about that. How can we tell people, how do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And we were really fortunate in that we had help. We and I'm not just counting Miner, who was our gardener and really helped us design the property. But prior to that, Mac and I both are kindred spirits, and the two of us together really made a good pair. To one was strong, had skills that the other didn't, and we shared a vision. And I think that is really important when you want to take on something, and especially something as big as a lifestyle. And we meshed that way. We didn't have high aspirations. We didn't want to make $1 million. I mean, it wasn't our intention. We weren't out to, I don't know really how to say that, but we always took the path less traveled. In our lives, both of us.
The heart too, and spirit.
We really did, and we grabbed the ring whenever it came around, and we weren't afraid of, oh well, if we did that, then we'll miss out on. We just did it, and so the doors, when you're doing that, the doors open in front of you if you're on the right path. Not to say we didn't have things slam in our face along the way, but mostly we we followed our hearts, and it brought us here.
I think this really was generic. I mean, someone else could have come in here and built apartment buildings or all kinds of things, hotels, resorts, whatever.
As they do.
And you just grew, as I say, you grew very generic, very organically.
We honored the land.
And it came from inside here.
It really did. I mean, we honored the beauty of the property. It wasn't a matter of, oh, we need to put a house there because it's going to generate money and we can blah, 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 blah. Because the money part of it was not important. Not to say we didn't need to support ourselves, but it wasn't our main goal.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we feel that we're spiritual people, and we listen to when we have something that maybe we ask for help. And when we got this property, we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. It was a diamond in the rough. It really was. And we really did have to sit on it a while. But it kind of came to us about, this is what it was, what we were supposed to do with it. And now it's like we feel that like we were the stewards of this land. That we're here to preserve it. We think the elders are the those who have come before us, that they're pleased with how we've looked after the land and the love and the comfort that we try to bring for people
You've succeeded
has
spectacularly.
and it's just, we're very fortunate in many ways that we were had the opportunity, and this was a long time coming. We were building toward it without even knowing we were building toward it. With the things that have happened in our life, just kind of led us to where we are right now.
Yeah. Any other? Oh, yes.
Oh, you kind of answered my question. It was like, well, actually, my question was a little bit different, but it's still related. Like, is it in Bali that you guys discovered Buddhism and like, connected to that, or?
Well, I think we both
That's a
were
very
familiar.
Buddhist country, yeah. So.
Well, it's Hindu. It's a Muslim. Indonesia is Muslim, and the island of Bali is Hindu. But it's similar with Buddhism beliefs.
It's generally.
But it was just a spectacular place. I mean, everywhere you looked, it was details and creativity and nothing we imagined it was going to be before we went. And we got off the plane, and the smells and the it was like flowers and incense mixed with septic.
Environmentally, it's very much like this, isn't it?
Well, it's nature. There's a lot of nature.
But I mean, it's rich.
It's very rich. You could chew on
nature,
the atmosphere in Bali, and it just was such a fascinating and wonderful chapter of our lives. And we could have stayed there. Mac had a really great job, and it was a wonderful place to be. And we'd been there for over 3 years, and we had family issues with our parents, and we decided that we wanted to spend more time home. And it was so far away. It's on the other side of the world. It takes a long time, to travel. And so we left it behind, but we brought some of it with us. And just having the temples here in the house, and they're keen on paths too. The paths through the rice paddies and that sort of thing. We tried to replicate as much as we could, combine Costa Rica with Bali, and one of the other just last thing about that was, although the people were wonderful there, Balinese people are just so beautiful. It was such an incredible culture, just rich eons. I mean, just a very thick, long culture. We would never have been able to penetrate that. We were always, here's the Balinese people, and here we are. And though they were very kind, there was always that separation we felt. And Costa Rica, doesn't exist. The people here are beautiful, lovely people, and there's this continuity between us, I think. Even with
very much so.
Yeah, even with the change in cultures, we still are able to integrate. And, so that's that. Anything else?
Well, just as far as back to your original question about the Buddhism, we were raised the normal way with Catholic and Baptist, and so we had a religious upbringing. But over our lives, we had felt that there was more that we wanted to explore, and with Hinduism and Buddhism, which have many similarities,
Taoism as well.
And yes, it just kind of, they rang true to us, and they're welcoming to all to come to study it, to learn of the teachings, and Ruthie just fell into our laps. Really, she could have.
Mine too.
You could
I
have.
picked her up, Mac. Excuse
Yeah,
me,
that's
I brought her here.
Yes, but
There's no falling involved.
she was really. I know I say this, but Ruthie really has been instrumental in
This is
the
nice.
You
development
like that?
I like this.
of what we're able to do here, like right now. Yeah, and of course, and we've had some retreats and had a lot of fun with those to bring in different speakers. And like Sharon was saying, we have different classes that we offer during the week for friends, really. It's just for the local community.
I think it should be brought out that you do not charge for any of this.
Yeah.
Now, perhaps the yoga teacher, you pay the yoga teacher, but
Yeah, well,
you
that's
are
the
not
generosity
doing
of the
it.
teachers. That's the
but most of the people who teach here
Richard and
are doing this out of spirit.
Lisa and Donna and you and Jeff
right.
and all of yes.
And
Yes.
so this is not designed to sell spirituality.
No, it's
This
not a
is
money making
designed to
machine
practice
here.
it. But if I can interject here, the word Dharma we use that more than we do the word Buddhism. Because the Dharma is far more encompassing. It actually has 16 different meanings, and one of them is the teachings of the Buddha. But also, we reach out to all other any genuine spiritual path, is Dharma to us. You can peel the labels off, and they all seem to come back to the same mainstream of spirit.
So, with that said,
Okay.
our time, and if you'd please give us, lead us through a metta, and we'll call it a wrap.
I think we should have some sort of special metta, but I haven't thought of one.
Well, your normal metta is special.
Okay. All right. This is all about what it's all about. Okay. Carla's new. So, Carla, we're so glad you're here. Metta is loving kindness, and it is compassion as well as loving kindness, but it's a loving kindness meditation. You're going to choose 5 people, beginning with yourself, and you're going to choose someone you love. As I say this, pick out somebody in your mind. You have to do it fast. Someone you love. The third person is a neutral person. Someone you've just met, perhaps, and you haven't gotten to know them yet. You may not even remember their name, and they haven't quite, but you like them. The fourth is someone with whom you're in conflict. Someone that you have trouble with. Maybe they don't like you, maybe you don't like them, but there's a conflict involved. And the fifth is the entire world of sentient beings, this planet and all others. So I'm going to say a phrase, and in your mind, bring up a mental visualization of the person you're talking to. Repeat it after me to them. Okay? So, we've left our cares and concerns outside. We've gone into silent meditation earlier. Now we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And to yourself, say, may I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease. That word means equanimity. I have to say that earlier. Not physical ease, but with poise and grace. May I live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May I be happy. And now, bring to mind someone that you love. Really, really, truly love. Smile at them and and say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now with another smile, maybe blow them a kiss, you move on to your neutral person. If you don't know his or her name, address them as friend. Bring their image to mind, smile at them, say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now we move to someone with whom we have a troubled relationship. And because we want not to carry with us any malice towards anyone, we bring their face to mind and with sincerity, despite whatever our differences may be, we say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. Now we put our hands over our hearts. We think of the vastness of our planet, of the universe, of other universes out there, many, many dimensions. And the heart is the only place big enough. It boggles the mind. So the heart is what has to take over. And to that end, we say, may all beings everywhere on this plane and all other planes be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Now we let that feeling of goodwill, of friendship, of love kind of sink in, and we will carry it out with us as we go about our days. So release your hands and now put them in prayer position for benediction. This is from the Unitarian Church. Go in peace. Go making peace. Living gently. Loving mightily. And bowing to the mysteries. Thank you all very much. Mr. Chimer, Mr. Chimer, Mr. Chimer. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Mac and Sharon, from all of us. I don't think you recognize the depth and breadth and height of what you've done for this community, for all the people that gather here. And so
it's been our pleasure. Con
It's
mucho
been our
gusto.
pleasure. Con mucho gusto, everybody.
Okay.